what I've been hearing on the news and in sports broadcasts for the past few months, few weeks, especially the last few days, is that this is still America, this is still a free country, at least for a few more days. And when Martin Luther King Jr. gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, America was a free country, still a free country then, even for a few more days for some people. And the poet Langston Hughes wrote, "Oh, let America be America again, the land that never yet has been but must be, the land that never was for me." America is America, and it will be America tomorrow and the day after that. The question for Dr. King in his final sermon was, what kind of America will that be? What kind of America will we help that to be? And it's the same question that we have today. What kind of American dream, American story will we live out? Will we help this country to live out? Help our neighbors to live out? Help our congregation to live out? Because the consequences for Dr. King were theological and actual. In his last sermon, he famously wondered whether America might go to hell. Not because of some whim of a divine creator, not because of the vast amount of resources in the greatest nation on earth, but because of the lack of willpower by the citizens of that nation to use those resources more equitably, to help out those who are on the lowest rungs of society, to make a place where liberty and justice was for all, to free people from all of those prisons, both the bars and the policy kind. That America may go to hell, citing biblical example after biblical example of people and nations who fell because they chose not to eliminate poverty or racism or wealth inequality. That word hell is triggering for many of us. I understand that. It's a loaded word. And here's the thing about hell. When the biblical writers used this word, they were speaking to their people. Hell was not a place below the ground full of pointy-tailed demons and screeching sounds. It was an actual place outside the city walls of Jerusalem. It was where they burned the trash and the toilet refuse. It was where the people who were on the margins of society had no other place to go to find food. And the sulfur from the rotting everything led to flames that burned day and night. It's a place called Gehenna. It's the word that we use to translate. It was a real place, created by the hoarding of resources and the hardening of hearts by people inside the walls. So there are lots of worst case scenarios that I'm sure we've all been thinking about starting tomorrow. And I have no idea which of those might come true. I don't know if we're entering into an unprecedented era of American history or if it's just a repetition of a cycle. I don't know how far civil rights will be rolled back, how quickly. I don't know if it might become a prisonable punishment to wear Black Lives Matter or to show up at protests in downtown Philadelphia. I don't know if it might become a crime to feed your neighbor or to help those who are on the margins. All of those are possibilities. I don't know. But what I do know is that capitalism does not like disruption, and we are in for disruption of one kind or another. So the financial strains that many of us have been feeling and the financial strains that lead to our food pantry being used 24/7 all of the time are only going to increase. And that's probably going to happen first. And we are going to be faced with many choices. But the first one is, how are we called to be with those who do not have what we have? How are we called to be with those who are outside the city walls? struggling to find something to eat, to find the resources they need to live, to find healthcare access, to find basic life-saving medicine, and to find connection and a place to be through the storm. So this American Gehenna is not a place far away. It's real and it's here. So the question for Dr. King was, does America go further into that abyss or not? And the answer is in part up to us here in this room. It is also up to 80 million of our siblings around the nation and for the people who are in the halls of power. So the question for us is, how are we called to help America live that dream out? Starting tomorrow, for all of us imprisoned. Another thing that is sure to happen is that our prisons will swell with population, because that is the only tool that America has ever developed. We take our problems and we try to lock them away rather than trying to help or heal or solve. We try to put things where you can't see them so that they become not real. We put them outside the city walls and we set them on fire. For all of us imprisoned, whether or not you have been behind bars in a correctional facility, or if you've been imprisoned by anxiety or fear, by financial strain, by poverty, by not knowing what you're called to do or how to act, what to say in this moment, we are all imprisoned by something. Some of us imprisoned by anger or hate. Some of us imprisoned by the belief that our wealth or gender or race makes us immune to the problems of the poor or the other. Some of us are imprisoned by false light of safety and security, of a fascist dictator, of strongman politics, who think that someone will protect us. Dr. King spoke of being a different kind of prisoner. He spent many times behind bars, of course, but he also spoke of being a prisoner of hope. A line from the prophet Zechariah, that a prisoner of hope is not just someone, an optimist, who assumes that everything is going to get better because the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice. So we just got to wait it out and things will eventually get better. That was not the kind of belief that Martin Luther King had, not the kind of belief that allowed people to brave fire hoses or dogs or the violence of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. It was not a belief that just sits and waits, but an active hope. Imprisoned, yes, but as a prisoner of hope, with an unwrenching belief in our power to come together, to circle round for freedom, to do our little part. Maybe someone sitting in this room has the key to unlock all of the policy violence that will be perpetrated and to fix it. That would be lovely. I doubt it. And I'm a person of few doubts. But I do believe, and I have seen throughout American history, throughout the history of this congregation, that when small groups of people who are committed to one another, who work with love, who put it at the center of all that they do, and gather together to do the little things as prisoners of hope, that is what bends the moral arc of the universe towards justice. It's not just the big laws like the Voting Rights Act. It is also the small things that we do, the small acts of kindness and compassion, the small acts of love and support for people who get up here and sing and offer their gifts, for the money we put into the plate, for the food that we share with our neighbors around this city. These are all small things that we can be committed to take that moral arc of the universe and bend that sucker towards justice. So I don't know what the worst case scenario is. I don't know if we're living in an analog for Germany or Venezuela or China or somewhere. I don't know. But I do know that if you ever wondered what you would be doing in any of those stories that I love to read or at any of those times in the history, here it is. What are we called to do? What kind of American story are we going to live out? An America that has never been but yet must be, or more American Gehenna? So I hope that you'll join me in trying to be a prisoner of hope. Because I picked a heck of a time to take a break. But the truth is that I need it. And 4 years is a long time. And the problems of today might be slightly worse in 3 months, but they'll still be there. And we'll still need to circle around and help one another while the storm passes over. So here's what I am hoping that we can take with us while I'm away, and as I'm preaching to myself here as well. There's going to be a lot of talk about resistance and making choices. And that's just the reality, right? We're going to have to make choices. And that's going to get tiring. So we're going to have to balance making choices that both resist, that do not comply in advance with whatever is coming through the news, and choices that lift up, that bring us together, that fill our cups, right? We're going to need all of that. Not everyone is called to be blasted by a fire hose or to join in the protest march that are sure to happen, right? But we all have choices to make that can help bend the moral arc of the universe towards justice. I hope you're hearing me. It is not all out there in the streets. It happens right here, right now, right? So I'm going to be gone. And if you were like me, when I was growing up going to church, if the minister that I did not like was not preaching, I didn't go. I get it. And I'm asking you, I'm begging you, circle round as often as you can, because this is what fills your cup. Lean into these things, to dinner parties, to the dinners for 8, to singing together, to making music, to lifting up joy and beauty. I'm begging you, no more fake fights. If someone says something that you don't agree with, I get it. That's hard. Circle round. Right?
Yes.
We got to be able to get through stuff here. We got to be able to get through stuff here. If you don't like what someone does for worship, I'm sorry. Come back again next week. We'll still be here. We'll try again. Right?
Yeah.
Circle round. Lean into the everyday, normal stuff that is also extraordinary and amazing. To hear someone's voice that you haven't heard in a long time, to talk to someone on the phone, to send a text message, to reach out and visit somebody, build a snowman, make soup, bake bread, read a book. All of the normal stuff while we still have it, and God willing, it'll still be there. Lean into it. Lean into spreading love and gratitude and kindness in everything that we do. It's easy to get stressed when everything is stressful. Take a breath. Remember who we are. Circle round. And lean into that universalist history of this congregation that spoke their great truth. Give them hope, not hell, Gehenna. And preach the good news. Give them hope. Give us hope. Give yourself hope. Give anyone who comes into these doors in the next 3 months hope. And not more of Gehenna. Not more of hardening our hearts, of not looking outside the walls, of shutting down and shutting out. We want to lean into being open and welcoming, of being compassionate and grateful and kind, of putting love at the center of all we do. Because that is the good news. That love is at the center of all we do. But if that is not good news to the people who are outside the walls, if it's not good news to people coming in the doors, then it's not the good news, right? Circle round for freedom. Circle round for peace. For all of us imprisoned, Circle for release. Circle for the planet. Circle for each soul. For the children of our children, let us keep the circle whole. Can we do that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
These are words from Martin Luther King's final sermon. I say to you that our goal is freedom, and I believe that we're going to get there because however much she strays away from it, the goal of America is freedom. Abused and scorned though we may be as a people, our destiny is tied up in the destiny of America. He's speaking especially to Black Americans, but the words, I think, ring true for all of us. Before the Pilgrim Fathers landed at Plymouth, we were here. Before Jefferson etched across the pages of history the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence, we were here. Before the beautiful words of the Star-Spangled Banner were written, we were here. For more than 2 centuries, our forebears labored here without wages. They made cotton king, and they built the homes of their masters in the midst of the most humiliating and oppressive conditions. And yet, out of a bottomless vitality, they continued to grow and develop. If the inexpressible cruelties of slavery could not stop us, the opposition that we now face will surely fail. We are going to win our freedom because both the sacred heritage of our nation and the eternal will of the Almighty God are embodied in our echoing demand. However dark it is, however deep the angry feelings and the violent explosions are, I can still sing, "We shall overcome." We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Can we take a moment to breathe these words in? And think about the choices that we are called to make. May they always lead us back here and back to love. May it be so. Amen. I invite Sandy forward to read the last half of her poem as we extinguish our chalice here in the sanctuary.
I can't really follow that.